Okay, it's time to start. Let me say good morning one more time. So today we are going to have the first set of workshops. In general, in accordance with our syllabus, we are going to have 4 sessions over 4 seminars. And let me share the topics that were, let's say, discussed with the tutor. So these topics will be covered during these 4 online sessions. So the first is sustainable tourism and sustainable marketing, determination of the common points. So it's today's topic, and we'll discuss the definitions for sustainable tourism, for sustainable marketing. And I selected tourism because there are several reasons. The first, during the pandemic, it is one of the industries that was hit quite harshly, and it is quite interesting from the theoretical perspective to see how it is recovering. And from the practical side, it is also quite interesting what are the marketing tools that can help company from the tourism industry work on the modern and the competitive market. And one example from the cross-border tourism between Russia and China will be given as a case study during today's class. The second topic is application of the corporative marketing tools. There are 2 things that will be shared with you. The first is SWOT analysis. Then segmentation, positioning, branding. So all main tools of marketing will be given to you, and some forms, some templates, how you can perform such analysis will be shared with you as well. So these are the hard skills. You know that you should have soft skills and hard skills. So the first part is examples of hard skills, like you should know how to implement the tools for marketing. And the second part from corporative marketing tools is dedicated to your intercultural communication skills. So we will discuss the cultural features of the communities that managers should take into consideration for the international businesses. Here we will discuss the structure of the effective presentations for the project, for your, let's say, a diploma project, or for some product that you or your company can be working on. And also how to make effective pitches, how to make short present and effective presentations. Here special emphasis will be given to the Asian market, to Chinese market. I have been working in China for several years, so I'm glad to share some practical, let's say, insights from my experience from China. So what are the cultural features of making business in China? So what you should think about when you cooperate with a company from China or work in Chinese environment. Okay, so this is the second. The third, economic literacy, discovering new sources of economic growth. So here you will be given some examples of the new industries that show the growth despite the economic crisis or pandemic situations, circumstances, and so on. And probably this set of workshops will help you to define your future topic for your graduation project. And the last one, it is global corporate governance. We will make a review of corporate governance mechanisms with special emphasis on its implication in Japanese, Russian, and Chinese companies. So here you can see the implementation of corporate governance on Asian and European market. Okay, before we proceed to agenda of today's class, I would like you to present yourself. As I see correctly, we have 7 participants. So I want you to state correctly your name to let me know how to pronounce your name, and specify the expectations that you would like to obtain from this course. So what you would like to get from completing this course. So 30 seconds, so maybe up to 1 minute will be given to you. And then we proceed to agenda of today's topic. And today's topic is this one, highlighted on the screen. So who would like to be the first and to share his or her expectations and let's say desires for our course? Please don't hesitate.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, my name is Uwimana Protein. I'm from Rwanda, and which I think I can get from this course, it's knowledge as well.
What knowledge, pardon?
Which I think I can get from this course, it's knowledge to know how tourism is work, as long as you give us some ideas how you was cooperate with Chinese. So hopefully we'll get some economic growth, how the country can grow, even if we can make some business, how we can manage. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Vimana, for sharing your ideas with us. Who will be the next one? Okay,
Good
so
morning.
maybe. Good morning.
My name is Hamidu Idi. I'm from Tanzania. My expectation for this course, since we are studying international business and international business is more or less or more about like relating to global trending and economic growth at all, global economic growth at all. So what I believe, like when we start sustainable tourism, when we start and sustainable marketing, it's more relating in international economics and global trends of like economics growth. So that's my expectation. Maybe I'll be able to identify like the key aspect of economy, especially the government, the global corporate government, interaction communication skills, and maybe the cooperative marketing as well.
Cooperative marketing. Okay, got it. Thank you, Hamidu. The next one. Arlet, maybe you can share your ideas.
Arlet, I'm from African Union. And when it comes to this course, what I'm actually hoping to get as knowledge comes to global corporate governance more. These countries are really interesting to me, especially China and Russia. When you look at their current status being economical, political, I think it would really add something on my knowledge. So this is really my interest when it comes to this course.
Okay, thank you. So corporate governance, China, Russia. Got it. We have 4 students left. Marcel. So we have Marcel.
Yes, I'm here. For me, I'm from as well from Africa, and I expect to learn more about economic literacy, because due to this COVID, we need to know new resources when it comes to economic growth.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Marcel.
Welcome.
Okay, then we have David. David, are you with us? Okay, so David, me again, and yeah, these two. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Or you can write your message in our MS Team chat. So that's the way how you can communicate as well. Yes, so David, you can write message. I see that we have a new participant. Welcome. Okay, so let's start. And if you have any information that you would like to add, I mean, some knowledge that you would like to obtain from this course or reply to my question that I asked just 5 minutes ago, you're welcome to use our chat to write your answers. So now let's proceed to our first topic. And the first topic is, so first, thank you for your feedback. I made some notes and I will try to take them into account, of course. So let's start from the first one. Sustainable tourism and sustainable marketing is our first topic. So today you can see the agenda on the screen. We have two parts. The first is dedicated to the theoretical background and framework of sustainability and its application to tourism and marketing. And the second part shows the practical case of the Chinese-Russian cross-border sustainable tourism development. And this practical case study illustrates the 30-year history of collaboration between two neighboring regions in the tourism industry. So we will talk about this region, Northern Chinese Inner Mongolia, highlighted with a blue, dark blue, and the Transbaikal region marked as a dark green. Okay. Also during the class, I think on the final workshop, the final 40 minutes, we will play a quiz game on the tourism facts that will definitely surprise you. So I'd like to share one of the first kind of spoiler. Can you guess where is the world's biggest nesting doll? So it is located in the world's biggest city, and this city is not Moscow, so it's not in Russia. So the biggest, let's say, Russian nesting doll isn't located in Russia, but in some other places. Okay, let's continue. Expected learning outcomes for today's workshops are here. After attending this workshop, you should be able to understand the modern concepts of sustainability. You should be able to define sustainable tourism and marketing. And to understand what sustainable marketing is, we need to review the definition of marketing and the concepts of marketing that company can use. Then you should know the 4 capitals of sustainable tourism, and here they are: the economic sustainability, social sustainability, cultural, and ecological. So these are the 4 capitals of sustainable tourism. Then, to appreciate the implementation of sustainable tourism in the international context and the issues that it faces. So that's why we will talk about one case study from Asian market. Or we can say it is actually between the case study is on the example of a cross-border tourism between Russia and China. So Russian is a European country and China is an Asian country. So it's not only a case study from Asia, so it is kind of Asian-European case study. Okay, and the last one, we will discuss and determine the common points between sustainable marketing and sustainable tourism. So here is the plan of the workshop. The first is, as I mentioned earlier, theoretical part, the definitions for sustainability. We'll trace the roots of sustainable development and the sustainability as a term to get better understanding why it is so modern nowadays to implement sustainability in or sustainable approach in companies. For example, I'm sure you have heard about ESG, environmental, social, and governance paradigm. So let's trace the roots of this by tracing the sustainability. Then sustainable tourism, we will see how sustainable development and sustainability can be implemented to one of the biggest industry, okay, before the pandemic, because nowadays tourism was hit by the pandemic very harsh, and we'll also see the changes in tourism. So I selected tourism because it was one of the biggest industry in the world. So that's why it is quite significant for you, for future professionals in international business, to get the implementation of sustainability in one of the biggest sector like tourism. Okay, I see that we have more participants. Just a second. Yeah, okay. And the next is sustainable marketing. Sustainable marketing is one of the concepts that company can follow. We'll trace all concepts that companies can follow, and sustainable marketing is one of them, one of the latest, let's say like that. The practical part, case study of the Chinese-Russian cross-border sustainable tourism development. And the last one is a quiz. I think it will be quite interesting to you to take part in. Then conclusion and question and answer section. So you already introduced yourself. Now it's my turn to introduce myself. I see that you are typing some information. So I defended my PhD in 2011 in Russia, and the topic was the building of innovation tourism system on the example of cross-border tourism between China and Russia. So here you can see some, let's say, achievements kind of that. I've worked as associate professor at the Transbaikal State University, at University of Economics in Bydgoszcz. I take the position of visiting professor. What else? I'm an expert in, or let's say an expert of the Russian Agency for Strategic Initiatives in the Regional Tourism Development Council. So that's why I selected tourism as well, because I know that tourism, and it will be my pleasure to share the insights and working experience with you, strength with the theoretical background. Okay, I'm expected to learn the positive and negative impacts of the tourism industry. Okay, got it. What else? Also, I have experience in leading the international tour operator company and aims to bridge the academic and business worlds together to benefit the local societies. You also can read additional information at the website, my last name.pro, monish.pro. It is accessible in 3 languages. In English version is the main one. Also, there is a Chinese version, but it has only several pages of content. So, time to time, I publish some information about the projects, grants I'm involved in, some programs. And also, there is another now I have updated version of the website, and there is a new button like materials for the students, where I upload some teaching materials for online courses. Here you can see working experience in academia and business. So I'm from Russia. I have worked at Russian universities in China. Here I was working in Nanning Normal University. It is located in the southern part of China, just on the border, in 200 kilometers from the Vietnamese border. So I'm researching the transboundary tourism. So that's why, as you see, I was working here, close to the border there. And the last project was cross-border tourism between Finland and Sweden. Also in Poland, Wyższa Szkoła Gospodarki. So this is University of Economics in Bydgoszcz. Okay, so let's proceed to the content. The definitions for sustainability, sustainable tourism, and sustainable marketing. So first, why sustainable tourism? Because tourism is one of the leading industry in the world. It was ranked number 3 before pandemic. During the pandemic, some types of tourism even stopped. For instance, cross-border tourism between China and Russia. There is no such a tourism right now because the border is closed from February 2020. Sustainability. So why sustainable development? Because the organizations, the companies should not only earn money, should be profitable, but also should be responsible for the communities where they're working, for the different stakeholders, including the employees, investors, shareholders, if the company passed the IPO, and so on. So the company, especially when we talk about corporations, should follow sustainability and should implement sustainable development in their strategies and management. And also there are some, let's say, requirements for the sustainability implementation at the company, if the company would like to be listed on the stock market. Marketing evolution from product orientation, from production oriented to society oriented marketing. So we'll trace the marketing development from I think from 50s till nowadays. So sustainable marketing is here, sustainable marketing. Okay, so let's start. Tourism economy before the pandemic. So tourism was one of the largest and fastest growing economic sectors in the world. Here you can see some information given by the World Tourism Organization under the United Nations. For instance, 2.32 billion people traveled to a foreign country in 2017, and there was a positive expectations for the coming future, like almost 2 billion up to 2030. What else? Tourism accounts for 9% of the world GDP and generates 1 job out of 11. So that's why I can answer the question asked by Nia Gena. So why? So what kind of positive impacts tourism can have to the economy? So tourism can be a driver of a socio-economic development and can create well-being for communities, especially when we take into account the rural territories or remote regions. If you take into account Transbaikal region, this one, it is remotely located because the capital of Russia is there, Moscow, so it is in 6,000 kilometers from the capital, and it is considered as a remote region. So how we can support development of such regions, tourism can be one of them. Some examples will be given to you, what are the mechanisms for economical development that can be obtained from the tourism development. The same approach was implemented in Sweden when the government decided to develop northern parts of the country by making special stress on the tourism industry. So by supporting the tourism development in remote regions. Okay. We have one more student. Let me admit the request. Okay, so now we have one more participant. Welcome. So let's keep talking about sustainable tourism and sustainable marketing. So tourism economy before the pandemic, some key figures are here. What else? All indicators confirm that the tourism industry has consistently continued to grow despite the economic crisis that affected many regions of the world in the last 10 years. So if we take the growth of the tourism, it was, let's say, sustainable. The market was expected to grow steadily for next years, as it has grown at the average pace of 4 in the last 7. But you know that in 2020, all world faced the new issue, pandemic, COVID-19, and the tourism was one of the most impacted industry in the world. So to illustrate this, let me just share some dashboards from the United Nations World Tourism Organization. You can actually, this information I downloaded in 2021, and we can visit the official website and to see the updates. So dashboards. A dashboard is a visual representation of the information from the tourism sector. So tourism in 2020, you can go to the official website of UNWTO. Then you can select the information or data material, and then you need to choose dashboards. There are several dashboards to choose from. So this one illustrates the international tourist arrivals. And as you see, you can compare 2019 with 2020. So January, February, and then a huge decline in March because many borders were closed, the international flights were suspended, and the tourism, let's say, stopped. We also can get the information for the specific countries, like Poland is here, so you can see the decline there. What is also interesting that from March, Poland declined providing information for these dashboards because it seems there were no tourists. So that's why you can see that no updated information here. Russia, the same situation. As you see, you can trace the information about international tourist arrivals from January, February till March. Then no information. Actually, I would like to know, so I got a question from David, or maybe it was how much money was involved in the global tourism industry. Okay, thank you, David, for your question. I will try to find the answer during the break because I don't have this information in this presentation. But what I do know that, as you asked about 2010, in 2010, the tourism was ranked number 3. among the world industries. And specific numbers we can find on the reports of United Nations World Tourism Organization. Okay, China. You're welcome. China, information is here. International tourist arrivals, and actually in 2020 I was working in China. I went back to Russia in January 2020, and then the borders closed. So as you see, it was a decline in February, and actually all visas were suspended. For instance, you could have a valid residence permit, but it was suspended, or let's say blocked. So even if you have a valid documents, you cannot, or let's say you couldn't go to China in that period. And still, China as a tourist destination is closed. There are some tourist arrivals that you can trace here, but still the numbers, the drop was rapid and big. And let's take into account another one, the United States of America. So similar situation, also decline in tourist arrivals. I don't have information for Austria here, but I think I should put it there. So let me open the dashboard. I would like to share the information from a Western European country, because you know that they have the Schengen zone, and they can travel between the countries without getting visas. So in this case, the country cannot just block the tourist flow by stopping issuing visas like Chinese embassy in many countries did. So let me find United Nations WTO organization information for Austria. So I need to go to, okay, and WTO dashboards. COVID-19 measures to support travel and tourism. So let me share this. Okay, stop sharing. Now I would like to choose another screen to share with you. Windows. This one. So now you should see the official website of World Tourism Organization, the page with the tourism dashboards. So here, let's go to international tourism arrivals, so to this dashboard. Also, you can get the information how different countries try to support travel tourism, and it is another big, let's say, archive of information, but we will not use it today. So tourism results by region and country. So this time I will focus to so let's compare the same 2019 and 2020 and choose European country by region by country. So why this picture is quite interesting. As you remember, in many countries like Poland, Russia, China, the United States of America, we have a decline started in March and then just a flat line. But here we have another curve. As you see, there is a decline starting in February to April, and then we have a peak in July and August, and the drop wasn't so dramatic. So of course you can see that the drop was about 30%, but still in other countries we witnessed even bigger gap, let's say like that. One of the reasons is because Austria is a member of a Schengen visa zone, and that's why it still was able to attract international tourists from the countries, citizens of which don't need to apply for visas. So I consider this is one of the main reasons. Okay, so if you have any proposals, which country we can trace here, please write your information in our chat, which country you would like to inspect, or we can proceed to the next. For instance, we have students from Uganda, from Tanzania, so let me just see the situation in the mentioned countries. It seems we even don't have information given by the government of Uganda about tourism statistics. Okay, could be. Then let's proceed to another country. So we have Tanzania. And Tanzania is very famous for its national parks. So let's see. No information. Okay. So let me check messages. Try Rwanda. Okay, let me try. No information. Okay, so maybe we can trace the situation in these countries from perspectives of the measures that the government are trying to make in order to support tourism development. Maybe here we can find countries like Uganda, Rwanda, and Tanzania. Uganda. Yep. Okay, so here you can see another information given by United Nations World Tourism Organization in another dashboard about the measures to support travel and tourism. So Uganda Revenue Authority has granted an extension on tax paying deadlines. In many countries, it was quite common procedure to support the companies from tourism industry, including some European countries, Russia, for instance. Okay, so let's. Okay, we have another request from the student who is waiting in the lobby. So let me admit the request. So let's choose another country like Rwanda. Aspects affected fiscal policy, the government response plan. Set up 100 million COVID relief fund. Okay. So the link is here. So if you are interested in tourism and impacts on the tourism and the way how the governments are supporting the tourism during pandemic, you can visit this website, choose your country or the country that you would like to inspect or would like to compare. Okay, so now let me go back to PowerPoint presentation. So I'm going to stop sharing browser, and now you should see the presentation again. Okay. So we have analyzed so there are several sources of information that you can use to analyze the tourism industry. One of them is a set of reports published by World Tourism Organization. Another one is the set of publications from OECD. For instance, they also have some information about tourism trends. And after analysis of these documents, we concluded that there are some tourism trends and mega trends that will be before, during, and after pandemic. So let me share some mega trends in tourism. So they are demographic changes, sustainability, the implementation of new technologies like VR or implementing of IT in booking, accommodation in booking accommodation or booking tickets, then augmented reality, and so on. Then travel behavior is the next one. So as you see, sustainability is one of the mega trend that is here. As you remember, our topic is sustainable tourism and sustainable marketing. So let's talk about demographic changes. The share of people over 60 years of age in the global population is expected to nearly double over the next 35 years. Let's take into account China. As you know, there was a policy, one family, one child. There was only one exception. If you are representing the minority, you were allowed to have more than one kid. But before, only one family was allowed to have one kid. About 2 years ago, this policy stopped, and now Chinese families can have more than one kid, so one child. What was the reason? The reason was the demographic changes. The aging of population is the global, not issue, but a global feature that the population in general is getting older and older. So here you can see an information that number or share the people over 60 years of age will be doubled over the next 35 years. And the tourism industry should take this into account and provide accessible tourism. So what is accessible tourism is a special paradigm based on universal design of tourism services that take into account the involvement of the tourists that could have some disabilities. So tourists with disabilities should also have opportunity and chance to travel with a comfort. And the older tourist is, the bigger chance that the person could have some disabilities is. So in this case, aging of the population is challenging the companies in tourism industry, because the companies should give the and provide accessible services for tourists with disabilities. And there are different types of disabilities. They could be visible, invisible, and at some universities there are even independent and entire course dedicated to accessible tourism. So this is one of the trends that you should take into account. The next is new technologies. So they change the way tourists plan and experience travel or international travel. Digitalization is transforming the sector, and peer-to-peer shared usage platforms will likely continue to create new marketplaces and business models. So here I just placed some examples from China, some marketplaces for tourism like Qunar. So it is Qunar.com. Then we have Ilung and Ctrip. So these are the biggest marketplace for tickets and booking tour packages in China. What else? There are some changes also in the hotel industry. There are some hotels in China and in Japan where the entire front desk is presented by robots or humanoids, so no human staff in such hotels. Also at the airport, when you register your luggage, you also can make it automatically without help of the staff of the human staff, let's say like that. Also, when you are traveling, I think here, yes. The next one is a travel behavior. So here are some information about the way how COVID-19 impacts the tourism. So let's just continue from this part. Aviation regulations like COVID-19 test results are needed to board the international flights. Also, international tourists are expected to be quarantined, to be isolated for at least 2 weeks. Again, it depends on the specific country, and now it is quite common when you are traveling to another country that you read the information about international arrivals rules in accordance with the regulation for COVID-19. In China, for instance, when you arrive to Chinese city, to international airport, you should be isolated for 2 weeks at the hotel, and you need, or your company is expected to pay for it. It's around 10,000 renminbi or something around 2,000 American dollars. Only after that you are able to, let's say, enter the city. So for instance, if you are traveling to some meeting, to some conference, first you need to be isolated for 2 weeks in the city of arrival. Then if you move to another city, so let's imagine that you arrive to Beijing and then you need to move to Shanghai. So you need to spend 2 weeks in Beijing, and then when you move to Shanghai, there could be that you need to spend another 2 weeks in Shanghai because you arrive from another region of China. So it is a bit complicated, and the regulations are changing constantly. So you should get ready for this when you are traveling with different goals, like a business trip or for your entertainment. So pandemic is here and we need to take the aviation. I got a question. Niagena, please. I see that you raise your hand. Do you have any question? Okay, I see that you are typing your question. Sorry, mistake. Okay. no problem, we continue. Okay, so travel behavior. And the last one is sustainability. So as you remember, there are 4 mega trends, and sustainability is one of them. So what is sustainability and sustainable development? So let's proceed to the information about sustainability. And I propose to start from looking for its roots. So how can tourism contribute to sustainable development? Does it have a meaningful role to play in fighting poverty and promoting the growth of strong, prosperous communities? So these are the positive aspects of tourism. So how exactly sustainability and sustainable development can help? For protecting the biodiversity and cultural heritage of developing countries. I think later I'm going to share the diagram by Tourism World Organization about intangible cultural heritage. It's a really inspiring diagram where you can see the links between 16 goals of sustainable development and the intangible cultural heritage from the specific countries. And there are some countries that you are from. I remember that fact. So, to understand what sustainability is, we need to trace the roots for sustainable development. And sustainable development, where is that slide? Yeah. So sustainable development was introduced in Brundtland report. So Brundtland report is a document published by the Brundtland Commission in 1987. So the commission was established in 1984. So it was a World Commission on Environment and Development, also known as the Brundtland Report, and it was established at the request of the Secretary General of the United Nations. And there were 3 objectives that Commission should develop. The first, to re-examine the critical issues of environment and development and formulate innovative, concrete, and realistic action proposals to deal with them. Second, to strengthen international cooperation on the environment and development. And the last one, to raise the level of understanding and commitment to action on the part of individuals, voluntary organizations, business institutes, and governments. So now it is quite common to implement ESG mechanisms at corporations, but the roots for this can be traced from Brundtland report. So Brundtland report has official title like Our Common Future. So 3 years later, after the commission was established, so it was established in 84, so in 2007, they published its findings in a document titled Our Common Future, and there is another title for this document, Brundtland Report. So if someone asks you what is sustainable development, you can provide definition given by the Brundtland Report. So it was for the first time when the officially recognized definition was given by the United Nations. So what is sustainable development from the perspective of Brundtland Report? It is here. Sustainable development was defined by the Brundtland Report as balancing the imperative of economic growth with the promotion of social equity and the preservation of our natural heritage, thereby ensuring that the needs of present generations are met without compromising the care taken of needs of future generations. So this was among the first uses of sustainable development in this specific context, and still it remains the most frequently cited definition of the term. So sustainable development definition given by the Brundtland report is on your screen. So we can use this definition as a reference point. And as you remember, usually when we talk about development, when we need to compare the economic development of the countries, we tend to use some indicators of economic growth like GDP. Still, GDP is an indicator that is widely used to compare countries, but there are another indicators that we can use to compare the countries in terms of sustainable development. Because there are so many examples when the GDP of the country is high, but the country still has a lot of citizens living in poverty. There are some examples from Africa, and what was the country? I don't have this in my presentation right now. So one of the reasons of the GDP growth was linked to the mining industries, like gold mining industries. So the country's government was investing into mining, and GDP was growing, but the money wasn't reinvested into the society infrastructure, like schools, healthcare industry, and so on. And a lot of citizens even didn't have an access to clean water in that country. But GDP was comparable to, let's say, developed countries like from the list of European countries, Western European countries, for instance. So GDP is an indicator that can compare the economic growth among countries, but it tells nothing about the well-being of local people. So that's why sustainable development is provide new indicators that we can use to compare countries and to measure the well-being of them, well-being of the citizens. Okay, so now let's shift to sustainable tourism. We have a definition of sustainable development, which was given previously from the Brundtland report. So now let's talk about sustainable tourism. And sustainable tourism definition is there. So also I will share two definitions. The first one is given by United Nations World Tourism Organization. So they had a special document, UN Environmental Program. It was published in 2005. And in accordance with that document, sustainable tourism is a set of activities. So here it is, that takes full account of its current and future economic, social, and environmental impacts, addressing the needs of visitors, the industry, the environment, and the host communities. So please take into account that we are focusing on the four capitals of tourism: economic, social, environmental, and cultural. Economic, social, and cultural, yeah. So environmental capital means the conservation of ecology, biodiversity. Then cultural capital means the preservation of cultural heritage, like intangible cultural heritage, different folk song traditions, traditional dances, and so on. So it's not only historic sites and artifacts, but also traditional practices, knowledges, which is called intangible cultural heritage, or just simply IC, tangible cultural H, ICH. And the last one, The first, the second, the third, and the last is economy. So sustainable tourism still is about money, about income, revenue that is obtained by the company and also shared through the local communities. For instance, the hotels can hire the locals to work at. So that's how we can involve a workforce, the local workforce, to the tourism industry. Also, we can organize open markets where the locals can interact with the tourists and sell them some products. And also locals can accommodate international tourists and tourists from other regions. There are some examples from Vietnam where the central government decided to support rural territories by giving them knowledge of basics of hospitality. So the main idea was to let locals give their homes and apartments to the tourists that are visiting their region. So yeah, about that. So the locals can be involved in the tourism industry not only as producers of the souvenirs, but also as hotels. I mean, like they can accommodate tourists at their apartments. And also they can work for tourism companies. So tourism has a multiplying effect. So that's why tourism can develop the local communities. A multiplying effect means that once the money are spent by the tourist at the hotel or restaurant, they are starting recirculation in the economy. For instance, when the tourists spend money in the restaurant, then the owner of the restaurant use this money to buy the products from the local farmers. So that's how the local farmers indirectly obtain, let's say, the money from the tourists from the restaurant where the tourists ordered the meals. Then the local farmer can reinvest this money, I don't know, to buy some crops on the local market. So that's how the money are circulating inside the regional economy. And in case when the money go outside of the region, it's not so sustainable for the economy. For instance, let's assume that we don't have agriculture industry developed in this region, and the owner of the restaurant should buy the meat, the products from abroad or from another region. So in this case, money are going out of the region and the circulation stops. So that's why it is quite important to think about the structure of the entire economy of the region. So by answering to the question, what are the positive aspects of tourism? So multiplying effect is a positive aspect. And what are the negative impacts? No. So the structure of the economy is also quite important. Otherwise, the positive impact will be less. The negative impact also can be, so take into consideration the all-inclusive hotel that attracts the international staff, so it doesn't involve the local workforce. Also, all products are imported, so this hotel is not, let's say, this hotel doesn't produce positive effects to the local community. Another negative impact of the tourism industry could be that some noise and pollution can be produced by companies from tourism industry, by such hotels, for instance. Okay, next, economy is still important. Definition is given here. Also, we have another definition given by Ivars in 2004 that also maintain the highly, it is among the high-cited definitions of sustainable tourism. So he defined the sustainable tourism as a process of a qualitative change, a product or political will, which with the indispensable participation of the local population adapts the institutional and legal boundaries, as well as the planning and management instruments, to development based on a balance between the preservation of the natural, cultural heritage, the economic viability of tourism, and the social inclusion and equity of the development. As I mentioned earlier, sustainable tourism is based on four capitals. Three pillars or non-traditional capitals of sustainable tourism are social capital, environmental capital, and cultural capital. And the last one, the third or the fourth pillar, is the traditional economic capital. So to sustain tourism development, the organizations, the locals, the stakeholders should focus on economic sustainability, social sustainability, cultural sustainability, and ecological or environmental sustainabilities. Here you can see the components of sustainable tourism: ecology, socioculture, socioeconomy. So let's let's discuss in details what social capital, environmental, and cultural capital includes. Economic sustainability is the first one. It refers to the ability of a project or program in tourism to become economically self-sufficient, allowing it to continue operation indefinitely, or it can be addressed to a situation in which a temporary intervention yields a permanent welfare improvement for the locals, like building some infrastructure and so on. So it is an example of economic sustainability from the tourism. Social sustainability is here. It refers to the need to balancing the personal costs and benefits of a development interventions with its costs and benefits to the society, to the local communities. So the company, especially if the company is following the social-oriented marketing, this company invests money into the local communities, local societies. For instance, it can be a sponsor of some sport events or just some events held in the region, in the city, or in the municipality. It can organize different festivals and so on. And also it can hire the locals. So if it is an international company, it also can be social-oriented by attracting the professionals and employees from the local region, the region where it operates. Because there are some examples when the companies are trying to get of course it's quite rational to get the best professionals from entire world to work in some destination, and the locals can be not so competitive, so it can be out of this business. So in this case, if the company is social-oriented, it still should hire locals. Let me give you an example. When I was working at Umeå University, it is located in the northern Sweden, I realized that only 30% of the staff were from Sweden. Almost 70% of the PhD students or professors, associate professors, were from other countries, including European countries, African countries, Asian countries, and so on. Also, there was one more rule that there should be balance, like kind of a gender balance between number of female professors and male professors. So that was also quite true to follow. So the message here is that at universities, universities also are looking to get the best employees from entire world, but still some positions are given to the locals. So as I mentioned, 30% of the staff, teaching staff, researching staff are still presented by the locals, by the people from that region, from that country. And I should mention that UMEO University is among best of the world. I mean, it is in top 300. Okay. So some negative aspects that tourism can deliver to the society is here. Building a new road in remote community may have the potential to significantly increase incomes by boosting commerce, benefiting people as individuals. These are positive aspects. What are the negative? But it may also have deeply adverse social consequences, like cars and trucks on the new road may generate significant pollution or present a serious safety hazard. So this is the negative possible aspects of tourism development. Number 3, cultural sustainability. As I mentioned earlier, intangible cultural heritage is there. So cultural sustainability refers to the intangible cultural heritage. Let me share some examples of them. So as I mentioned, Umeå University, this one, it is located in the northern Sweden, and they have a Sami Week festival, which held once a year in March. So let me share some pictures of that festival. So here you can see the central square in the city center. And for the entire week, you can taste the traditional cuisine of Sami people, indigenous people, or you can try the local food. You can see the traditional apartments, let's say homes, like these stands and so on. Another example from Asia, the ethnic village of Zhuangzi minority in Guangxi. So as you remember, I mentioned that Guangxi is located in the close proximity to Vietnam, here. So Vietnam is this one, so it is Nam Ninh and Guangxi province is here. And the population of the province is comparable to the population of entire Poland. So Poland, if I'm not mistaken, has a 40 million of population, and Guangxi, as a region in the northern, in eastern China, has 50 millions. And Nanning, as a capital, has 8 millions of population. Let me go back to this picture illustrating the intangible cultural heritage. So Zhuangzi is minority. By the way, there are 55 minorities in China, and the government supports the preserve of the traditional culture of minorities. So here you can see the example of the ethnic village. So Zhuangzi, the locals, the local minority, is making money from the tourism industry by organizing the ethnic village. So if you'd like to observe and experience the traditional way of living of Zhuangzi, you can go to this ethnic village. What else? Zhuangzi is very close to Vietnamese. So Zhuangzi and Vietnamese has some similar traditions. Yeah, like that. In 2019, I took part in foreign experts photography contest, and I submitted 5 pictures. All of them are dedicated to the sustainable tourism. So this picture I applied for this contest, and I was among 30 winners. So the organizers defined the top 3 pictures, and then also another top 30 were awarded with certificates and some. Okay, and the last one is the culture. No, it is continuation, right? So we talk about cultural sustainability. The first one are traditions and customs of the locals, from the indigenous people, European Sami, Asian Zhuangzu, and also sustainable tourism and cultural sustainability is about saving the languages. But still, there are some estimations that the language is dying every 14 days. And within the next century, half of the world's languages may disappear. So that is why, therefore, there are some initiatives from the government to support the local customs, the local traditions, and the language of local communities. I'm thinking about the languages that are spoken in my region, and I think we have at least 10. And of course, Russian is the main language, but we have some minorities that speak both languages, Russian and their traditional language, like Buryat language and so on, Yakut language. And the government is funding some centers that aims to protect the language, to keep, to support the citizens to keep using this language. Okay, and the last one is ecological sustainability. Ecological sustainability is about protecting the biodiversity and maintaining the balance of local ecosystems through environmental conservation and responsible management of natural resources. And as you know, natural resources can be limited and renewable and limited. Carbon footprint calculator. Okay, so I think if we have enough time, we can use carbon footprint calculator to evaluate your carbon footprint. Okay, now we can move to the evolution of marketing. So we have discussed the sustainability. We traced the roots of sustainable development from the Brundtland report, from the document titled Our Common Future, published in 1987. Then we shifted to the definition of sustainable tourism, which took the best efforts for improving the world from the sustainable development definition and strengthened it with the 4 sustainabilities, like environmental sustainability, social, cultural, and ecological. And now it's time to continue with the evolution of marketing. So as you remember, I mentioned that there is a concept of marketing like sustainable marketing. So let's see what marketing is and which evolution is best, and let's discuss the marketing orientation. So first, let me share two definitions for the marketing, which are quite commonly accepted nowadays. Okay, the first one is given by the British Chartered Institute of Marketing, CIM, and the second one is offered by the American Marketing Association, AMA. So please take your time to read these two definitions and write in our meeting chat which of these two you agree with. So which of them you like most? So the first is given by Chartered Institute of Marketing. Like marketing is the management process responsible for identifying, anticipating, and satisfying customer requirements profitably. And American definition, marketing is the activity, set of institutions and processes for creating, communicating, delivering, exchanging offerings that have value for customers, clients, partners, and society at large. So I'm looking forward to getting your answers, which of these definitions you like the most. I got the first answer, okay. Okay, we have two answers. So one more minute, and maybe I will ask you why you think that these or those definitions you like more. So 3 minutes to get ready. Okay, what?
Personally, I choose because it includes everyone. That is the customers, the clients, the partners, and the society at large, more than just including the customers or just the company itself.
Okay, thank you, Arlette. Yeah. So the second definition is a bit larger, and it includes not only customers, as the first definition offers, but all stakeholders. So we can call them stakeholders. They are customers, clients of the company, partners, society, employees. So it is very close to the modern definition of holistic marketing. Holistic. Have you heard about holistic marketing? Holistic marketing is the marketing concept, I think from 2010s, something like that. Also, it is given by the, or it was proposed by the, oh, what is his name? Just a second. Okay, I think it's time to have a break because I forget the name of the author of this book, Philip Kotler, of course. So Philip Kotler, of the marketing management or the basic of marketing, is one of the main, let's say, handbook for marketers, or at least it has a fundamental concepts of marketing. Of course, in the modern world, we have internet marketing, we have SMM, social market, SSM, social networks marketing, and so on. Also, in China, for instance, we don't have Facebook, only in Hong Kong, and in mainland China, there is no Facebook, there's no Twitter, so all of them are blocked. And in China, there are the local social networks. So when we talk about some universal approach to promote the products, to make a segmentation of the market, there is no such a universal approach. Every market is unique, and every market has its own features caused by different reasons. For instance, in China, it was a governmental decision to block Facebook, to block on access to Gmail, to Google searching engine. And in China, we have the, let's say, national searching engine. We have the local Facebook, we have the local messengers, so there is no messenger from Facebook, no WhatsApp, but there is a WeChat. And if the marketers would like to promote products in China, they should take this into account and use the local IT products to promote the services or products of their company. Okay, now I propose to have a 5 or maybe 10 minutes break, and then we proceed. So 5 or 10 minutes, what do you think?
10 works better.
10 works better, okay? So let's have 10-minute break. So see you in 10 minutes. Okay, it's time to continue. So I got two responses from you, or three actually, from Arlette, Julius, and from Mercy. So all of you selected the option number 2. Okay. So the second definition is very close to the holistic marketing, where we think about all stakeholders of the company. That includes customers, employees, clients, partners, investors, shareholders, partners from financial sector like banks, investing companies, business partners, even competitors, because in modern international business we also have an interesting word like co-opetition. So it is kind of competition and cooperation together. Competition. That's the case when competitors are merging their efforts and cooperate to achieve common goals. For instance, in tourism industry, it can be illustrated when the companies are making promotion of the destination together. So they can present different hotels and stakeholders of the tourism industry. So let's assume 2 hotels, but both of them are interested in attracting more tourists to the destination, so they can make joint promotions and attract more tourists, and then compete to attract them to the specific hotel. Okay, so competition and cooperation. Cooperation. We have another modern trend like bleisure and word. Bleisure, it's leisure plus business. Business and leisure. So that's the case when business travelers travel to some destinations with a business objectives and then spend some time, like several additional days or couple of days, to travel inside the destination. And hotels and also are involved in this trend. So they offer some leisure activities at the hotel, like gym, sauna, swimming pool, and cooperate with the local companies to offer some tour packages to the customers of the hotel. So bleisure, it's a business and leisure. And the last one is glamping. It's camping plus or glamour. That's the case when you stay at camping that has a nice infrastructure, so you can be united with the nature, being surrounded by well-organized infrastructure. Okay. So the first definition, the second. Now let's trace the evolution of marketing. So we have several orientations: product orientation, production orientation, selling orientation. Then we have a marketing orientation of marketing. When I say market, I mean marketing efforts in promoting the products. And the last one from this theoretical framework is ethical and sustainable marketing. But of course, the marketing is being developed, and we have sustainable marketing, we have holistic marketing, we have marketing 3.0. So there are so many concepts, but these are the most common and these are the basic concepts of marketing that are well accepted by everyone, including corporations and scientists. So production orientation focuses on manufacturing. So what is the main aim of this orientation? That the company would like to increase the production and reduce the costs and improve the control. And the company is making profit through the volume. So the main task of the company is to produce more and reduce the costs of production. So any color you want, as long as it is black, the sentence cited by the Henry Ford. And by saying this, he described the Ford T. As you remember, Ford T was one of the first and successful car produced by Ford company. And they were not focusing on the, let's say, expectations and desires of their customers. They just would like to produce, let's say, they would like to reduce the cost of production. And the black color was, let's say, not only the cheapest paint, but also it by selecting one color, you reduce the costs for, let's say, by selecting one color, you reduce the cost for a variety of colors that you need to purchase. So one color, one car, and he told the customers that you can order any color you want as long as it's black. So this orientation started in 40s in USA. Before that, marketing was considered as a logistics. So by marketing, before 40s, a lot of marketers just understood the way how the product is shipped and delivered from the producer to the final customer. And only starting from 40s, we can say that the evolution of marketing started only from 40s. And the first was production orientation, then product orientation, when the main focus was on the quality of the product. So we need to improve the quality of the product to make it better. Quality is still important, and the company makes profit through volume as well. The next one is selling. So selling what is produced was the main idea of this marketing orientation. One of the most successful company who is still using this selling orientation marketing is Coca-Cola and Pepsi. So if you compare their products, they sell the same products on every market. So in Russia, in Poland, I'm sure in Uganda, in Tanzania, in other countries, you still can try the authentic product of Coca-Cola, like Coca-Cola, Fanta, and Sprite. There are some local adjustments. For instance, in Japan, you can find out that there are so many tastes for Fanta, but still you can find the original Fanta, like with orange taste. In China, also you can find some unique products from Coca-Cola, but still you can find the original product. And the recipe for the product hasn't been changed for a century, I think, even more. So the same product is popular because of the marketing efforts, because of the promotions. And you see that the characteristic of this marketing orientation is aggressive sales and aggressive promotions. So still, there are some companies that are using this marketing orientation. So it doesn't mean that in 60s, it ended. Now it's still quite popular. The next, which is quite common nowadays as well, marketing, orientation of marketing. The key idea is described by this sentence. Define what customers want and sell it to them. So here we have integrated marketing communications, 4 pieces of marketing. I think you know them, right? Price, product. Do you know 4 pieces of marketing? Do you know 4 pieces of marketing? Do you know 4 pieces of marketing? Just type yes or no in our messenger. Or activate your microphone and reply to me, please. Okay, thank you, Lisette. You know it?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. So 4 pieces of marketing we can trace from marketing orientation, so from this period. It includes product, promotion, price, and place. And again, depending on what market you are working on, we can perceive different things by saying that. For instance, place, it can be a physical store, or it can be online official website, or it can be some marketplace in the internet. For instance, in China, there is one of the biggest marketplace like Taobao.com, AliExpress.com. Taobao is aiming only on the local market, and AliExpress is a marketplace designed by the same company, by Alibaba Group, but for international customers. We have Amazon as the biggest marketplace in the United States. What else? We have some local, national marketplaces, some places where you can buy the tickets if you talk about tourism industry, some aggregational websites like I mentioned earlier. So marketing and the 4 pieces of marketing are this framework was invented there. So let's find out what they want, and if they would pay for it, we'll produce it. There is one negative moment of marketing orientation, that if we strictly follow the marketing concept of marketing, we'll never invest into the innovations, because we just would like to be sure that what customers want, we just produce what they want. And we will not try to produce something that probably will not be used by the customers. So marketing, orientation of marketing is a good strategy and concept, but still the negative aspects of it is the lack of innovations. For instance, if you take into account the Apple company, Apple computer company, the first iPhone was introduced to the market in 2007, and it was the first smartphone that used your fingers as a tool to operate your smartphone. So initially, all smartphones were operated by the special stylus or special pens, and Apple was the first who invented and offered the smartphone that can be operated by fingers to the market. And it was welcomed quite well by the customers, and now Apple is one of the biggest company in accordance with the market capital. I think last week the market capital of the company exceeded 3 trillion American dollars. I think it is the first company who did it. Okay. And the last one is ethical and sustainable marketing. So serving the needs of the buyer with the respect for the welfare of society and the environment. Here also I gave some information about ESG, environmental, social, and governance. If we talk about corporations and corporate governance, also this is a criteria that investors and stakeholders take into account. And there are so many job positions like ESG managers and so on. So if the company would like to increase its market capital, it should build good relations with the stakeholders, and the stakeholders very appreciate if the company is sustainable, is green, is implemented innovations, green innovations, is following sustainable development and so on. But again, on some markets it will not work out. I can give you some examples from Russia, from Siberia, from Far East of Russia, that during the 90s the economical situation wasn't good, and no one was paying attention to this, how sustainable, how green, how social oriented the company, the producer is, because there was no money, the population hasn't enough money to choose the company that is, let's say, social oriented. They just choose the company that offer the cheapest price on the market. So please also take this into account, that there are some regions where ethical and sustainable marketing will not be, I'm not saying that it will not be appreciated by the customers, but I mean, if there are some other companies that offer cheaper product and are not following the sustainable track, they still will be popular because the economic factors on such market are significant. Example, the initial phase of tourism in Chinese-Russian cross-border collaboration, which I will talk a bit later. And you see that the companies, the customers, the tourists in 90s was selecting the tour products which were cheaper, not better, but cheaper. And no one was thinking about how sustainable, how ethical the company, the tour operator was. But situation is changed, and yeah, and now we are talking about sustainable marketing. So what is sustainable marketing? So we viewed the evolution of marketing. So one more time, let me show you it. Production orientation, product orientation, selling orientation, then marketing orientation, and the last one is ethical and sustainable marketing. Also, I can add the holistic marketing here to make the picture complete. Send to back. Holistic. And marketing 2.0 based on internet 2.0. So do you know what is internet 2.0? Do you know who Berners-Lee is? Tim Berners-Lee. He was, let's say, the inventor of the internet, and in accordance with his view, the internet passed at least through phases. The first was called by him Internet 1.0 and lasted till 2005 approximately. The next was Internet 2.0, and the main characteristics of Internet 2.0 are social networks. So what is special in social networks? social networks allow users creating content. So initially in the Internet 1.0, the web designer, the website owner was responsible for creating the content. And now Internet 2.0, where we have a lot of social networks, messengers, we as a users are creators of the content. Initially, only the owner of the site was the creator. So this is the significant differentiation between Internet 1.0 and 2.0. Now, some of the researchers started talking about Internet 3.0, but still there is no kind of well-accepted definition what it should include. Metaverse or Facebook, they are paying attention to the metaverses, and maybe it will be kind of a part of the Internet 3.0. What we do know right now that Internet of Things is an element of Internet 3.0. Also, the development of 5G accelerates the development of modern technologies. So 5G, it's not only the faster speed, 5G offers more connections at the same time. So Internet of Things can be developed due to the development of 5G that allows many devices being connected simultaneously at relatively high speed. Okay, what else? And of course, Internet 2.0, 3.0 should be taken into account when the company is thinking about which strategy to select. We even can make sales just based sales from the official account from the Facebook. So we can think about the channels of distribution from the perspectives of new technologies. In Western market, it can be Facebook. In China, it can be WeChat, different marketplaces from Taobao to AliExpress and other places developed by two giants of IT industry in China from Tencent and Alibaba Group, two companies. I think later we'll make more references to those companies, Tencent and Alibaba. Okay, so finally, what is sustainable marketing? Refers to green marketing is when a company focuses social and environmental investments as a marketing strategy. It's a way to build relationships with the consumers while letting them know that they're important and so are future generations. So please take 1 minute to read these two definitions, and then I will share some examples of the companies following sustainable marketing, like fair trade. So sustainable marketing is about green marketing, is about focus on social and environmental investments, and another focus is on building relationships with the consumers and different stakeholders. Environmental, social, and governance. So ESG factors are not directly focus of today's lecture, of today's workshop, but I decided to put some information about them here. So environmental, social, and governance are the key factors in ESG. So here you can see some examples of what exactly the companies can do to be called companies that follow sustainable marketing. In my opinion, on many markets, the companies declare themselves as a companies that follows sustainable marketing just to increase their market capital in the eyes of investors. Because the investors, there are some, let's say, toxic companies. And toxic companies are those who are not following sustainable marketing right now. So it's not just the desire of the company to be sustainable and follow sustainable marketing, but it is the expectations from the stakeholders, from the investors, shareholders. So if you are not following this track, the investors will not invest into your company. So that's why companies develop such strategies. On one hand, to meet the expectations from the investors, and on another hand, to build a better society. But of course, the main objective of the company is still to make the profit, and if the company cannot make profit, if the company is not profitable, it cannot be sustainable, right? Because in this case, the company will be out of the resources that can be reinvested into the environmental protection and so on, or some social support to the local population. So the company should be profitable. So sustainability is not only about environmental protection, social impact or governance, it's also about finance. So there is a special term like financial sustainability. So the company should be able to make money. Let me give you an example of the crisis of dot-coms. Do you know what is the crisis of dot-com? The crisis of dot-com in the beginning of 2000s was the case when, do you know it? Dot-com crisis. I see that you are typing some responses. Yes, okay. So one of the reasons is that the company don't know the companies from the internet, from the IT, they didn't have a business model how to earn money. They have extremely high number of MAU, monthly active users, but they didn't provide a financial model to the investors. And once investors decided to, or let's say they wanted companies be profitable, they asked and requested for the business models, but at that time no one knows how to make money from the users. So now we know that you can make a promotions, and Google use it, like Google AdWords. You see promotions and advertisement in Facebook, in other social networks. So now companies know how to make money from IT projects. So I just mentioned it to illustrate that the companies, first of all, should be financially profitable, and then they can think about sustainability. If they just want to be just sustainable, maybe they should be registered as NGO, non-governmental organization. The main aim of those is not making money, but, for instance, sharing some information about something, and what? So the main objective of the NGO is not making money, but to promote the idea. But if the company is making money, it should be financially sustainable or profitable. Okay, so fair trade. Here you can see. Do you know what fair trade is? Because we can visit the official website to get the information about that fact. So it is an arrangement designed to help producers in growing countries achieve sustainable and equitable trade relationships. I can share just one video to illustrate what fair trade is. So fair trade. This is quite popular in European countries, where you can get these or those products. For instance, product with a fair trade sticker costs usually more. And by purchasing these products, you as a consumer understand that you are supporting the local farmers from African countries, from Asian countries, and so on. But it doesn't work in Russia, for instance, in 90s and 2000s. Why? Because the situation wasn't so good, and the economical situation, and the locals, they prefer just to purchase the products that they afford, that are affordable for them, and no one paid attention to fair trade. But now situation is changing, but still fair trade works in such countries where the customers are willing and ready to pay more for such products. And there are some countries and regions where they would like to purchase such products and support the producers and farmers in growing countries, but they are out of funds, out of money, their budget is limited, so they buy another products. Okay. What else? Common points of sustainable tourism and sustainable marketing is there. So what is sustainable tourism and marketing? So as I mentioned earlier, sustainable marketing focuses on building relationships between customers and letting them know that we as a company protect the environment, use the resources sustainably. And sustainable tourism, in addition, has 4 capitals, like social, cultural, economical, and environmental. Okay, now we can move to the next part. So the next part is a case study of Chinese-Russian cross-border sustainable tourism development. So I'm going to tell you a story about the tourism case study from cross-border regions, Russia, China, from my point of view. I was born in the border region and was literally involved in the cross-border tourism from the beginning of when it started. I have experienced the rise of tourism and its fall, the significant moments, the influence of made decisions on the local and the central levels. I made a road from seeing the tourism as a kid whose parents were in tourism to entrepreneur who organized the competitive tour packages to the region, which attracted representatives from more than the 33 counties of China. Forward to tourism researcher who wants to contribute the knowledge how to make the home region better place to be and to live by developing the tourism industry. We will talk about 3 main points. The first is the history of the cross-border collaboration, then the tour packages, and the financial sustainability of the sustainable tourism. So let's start. So I came from Siberia, from the remote border region called Transbaikal region. So you can see it on the map. It is in 6,000 kilometers to the east from the capital of Russia, from Moscow, named after Baikal Lake, the biggest lake and the deepest lake on the earth. So here you can see the locations of transboundary regions. Here. Transbaikal region and Inner Mongolia. Transbaikal region is marked by dark green and the Inner Mongolia is marked by dark blue. So let me start from the territory that we are going to research. I'm going to start from Transbaikal region, and actually it is well described by it was well described and promoted before in 1890 by Russian playwright and short story writer Anton Chekhov. And I think you agree with me that it is hard to find a better person to tell about my home region than a person who is considered to be among the greatest writers of short fiction in a history. So Anton Chekhov made a trip to Transbaikal region in 1890, and he wrote, let me cite him, that Transbaikalia is great. It's a mixture of Switzerland, Don Steppes, and Finland. So now let's proceed to the description for the region and the cities. The population of Transbaikal region in the upper side of this picture is 1,074,000 of inhabitants. The main cities are Chita as a capital of the region. It is located in the center. If you go to east, you reach Aginsk and finally Zabaikalsk, which is on the border. And cities are on the same railway line, which connects two states and two countries. Aginsk and Buddhism religion has a temple that is famous among Buddhists. Also, one more fact about Transbaikal region. Can you imagine from 1920 to 1922, Chita was a capital of independent country called Far Eastern Republic. It was a sovereign and independent state located between Japan and the Soviet Union. And from 30s to the dissolution of the Soviet Union, Chita was a closed city, and foreigners were prohibited to travel to Chita. So Chita is here. So you can see this map, Japan, China, Russia, and Chita, Baikal Lake. So this city is there, the capital. Now let's proceed to Manjoli and Hailar, these two cities. The population of Inner Mongolia is 24 million. The main cross-border destination cities were Hailar and Manjoli. So the cities on the figure shared on your screen. Manjoli is on the border, and Hailar is 200 kilometers to the east from Manjoli. Now it is a big merged city called Khunbuyur. To understand how big the city is, let me show you this picture again. So this one declared as one big city. It was made in order to attract Chinese central governmental funds for developing northern cities. So Beijing, the capital of China, is here. So you can see that this city is extremely huge. The territory of Khunbuyur city is comparable to the territory of Italy. So you can compare it to the size of Japan. What else? Initially, it was Aimak. Aimak is a Chinese term for region. And there were several cities like Manjoli here, Hailar there. Then I think you can see my pointer, right, when I move it on my screen. So now I'm pointing on the places on the map where Manjoli is located. Now where is Hailar? Then we have Jalantun and Erguna. So in general, more than 6 cities merged together and declared themselves as one new city, Khulunbuir. Khulunbuir also has 2 international airports in Hailar as a district and in Manjoli. Let's proceed to the tourism from 80s. I think it's necessary to mention the history background of that time. From 1985, there was a perestroika, a set of economic reforms in the USSR. The private business became legal only in that period of time. Tourism was one of the first steps in collaboration between the transboundary regions. So initially the groups of tourists were more oriented on business goals in establishing connections with Chinese partners. My parents established a tour operator company in the earliest 90s, if to be precise, in 1994. And my mother started her collaboration with the Chinese companies in the end of 80s as an interpreter in an export-import agricultural company, and then became the first female businessman who started the cross-border collaboration after the border war opened. So the tourism started only in the end of the 80s in this region between China and Russia. Let's move to the 90s. The 90s was an age of opportunities for both countries, including the tourism industry. For instance, I remember a Chinese person who in the middle of 90s was a tour guide for Russian groups. He was always motivated to work. Now he is the richest businessman in the northern China. He owns hotels, tourism infrastructure, objects. His name is Wang Zedun, and every year his construction company builds more than 300,000 square meters of new apartments and tourist destination in structure installations. Like the biggest matryoshka, nesting doll. Do you remember I asked you to guess where the biggest nesting doll is located? And it is located in Manjoli in Chinese city on the border in the park named Matryoshka or Nesting Doll Park. So this Matryoshka Nesting Doll is recognized as the biggest in China, and it is a 5-floor restaurant made in the shape of a nesting doll. I think it is already in the Guinness record book as well. So what were the negative aspects of tourism in 90s? Opportunities of the tourism in 90s were complemented by a set of unique new challenges. The tourism was a bit unstable as the whole economy of Russia, and in the start of the decade, not marketing factors played the key role in attracting Chinese tourists. For instance, the factors of safeness were more significant. The tour companies had to defend the tourist groups from Chinese and Russian organized criminal groups and bands operating in both transboundary regions, especially in the transport nodes like train stations, airports, entrances to the hotels, and so on. And in this case, the company provided not only the travel services, additional attention was paid to the safeness of the tourists. One of the solutions was to sign kind of unofficial agreements with the criminals not to rob the groups of the particular travel company. So these were really kind of unique period of time in the tourism. So as you see, it was a bit criminal. Now let's proceed to the tourism in 2000. So what I can share here. Maybe I have some information about 90s. So let's see the portraits of the Russian and Chinese tourists of that period. Russian visitors could be divided into 3 groups: entrepreneurs, import-oriented entrepreneurs, and tourists to Mongolia and to other destinations in China. Entrepreneurs were establishing connections with the Chinese companies. As I mentioned, the border just has been opened in the end of the 80s, and in 90s it was still developed. Then import-oriented entrepreneurs were importing cheap products and clothes, then resell them to other cities, including Moscow and so on. And the most popular tour to Mongolia was proposed to the market was like 3 days and 2 nights. Also 2 weeks trip to Bydgoszcz, the seaside, in the summertime. So it was a first period of time when let's say other countries started opening borders to Chinese tourists, including Russia. So here you can see some pictures from that time. As you see, this picture was taken in September of 1998. You can see the city center, Lenin Square. Tour products and tour packages were purchased by the Chinese government, and some outstanding teachers, then workers from publicly owned companies were awarded trips to Russia. So you can see some delegation from Chinese teachers, librarians. So here you can see the traditional customs of the local indigenous people. This picture is dated 1907. Yes, librarians. As I mentioned, Chinese tourists and Chinese government awarded librarians, teachers, and other employees by trips to Russia. Okay. Kindergarten teachers. It's me. Almost how many years passed? 20. So this picture was taken in previous century, in 97 maybe. So I'm, how old I am? 10, 12 years old on this picture. Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, I started my way in tourism as a kid, and now I'm a researcher of tourism, right? So now let's proceed to the tourism of 2000 and see what changed and what are the marketing efforts that were made during these years to promote Russian and Chinese products on cross-border tourism. Okay. There are 2 periods of cross-border tourism in Transbaikal and Inner Mongolia regions. The dividing year was 2000, when the agreement between the government of the Russian Federation and the government of the People's Republic of China on visa-free group tourist trips was signed. Another significant year was 2009, as a resulting year for world crisis which influenced on tourism was visible. And of course 2014, due to the rapid drop of the Russian currency exchange rate, which made the packages to Russia twice cheaper than before and made competitive advantages in prices. So as you see, when you talk about marketing environment like external factors, the currency plays a significant role. Due to the rapid drop of the Russian currency exchange rate, the tours and trips to Russia became cheaper 2 times. And it makes an advantage to such tour packages. And do I have it here? You can see 2014. This line, this curve represents the number of Russian tourists going to Inner Mongolia, and blue curve represents the number of Chinese tourists going to Russia, to Transbaikal region. So 2014, as you see, after that year, the number of tourists going to China decreased because it became more expensive. And here the number of Chinese tourists is constantly growing. Okay, in 2020, the number wasn't 40,000, the number was less. I just haven't updated this. It was kind of expected. The actual number is just 300. Why? Because the borders were closed. Okay. What else? Almost 90% of cross-border tourism is going under the agreement I mentioned earlier, visa-free agreement. Then there is a framework for tour packages. The tour package for Chinese tourists is 4 days tour to Chita. The tour package for Russian tourists is 3 days and 2 nights in Manjoli. And it covers almost 99% of all tours. Also, there are individual tours, but they can be fit in the frames stated before. The main factors of attractiveness for Chinese tourists is nature and landscapes, and for the Russian tourists, shopping facilities. So we organized the survey, and we have been collecting the answers for 5 years in a row, from 2011 till 2016. Here are the kind of results. So the wild nature and landscapes, this factor took the first position. And there is one. Yes, the first position is given to unique opportunity to visit Russia. Why it is so? Because in China it is quite problematic to obtain the passport to go abroad. And for Chinese tourists who would like to go abroad, Chinese tourists need to obtain the passport, and the government in Harbin decided to issue special single foreign passport. So they looked as a regular foreign passport with 2 limits. The person can use them to visit only one state, and guess which state it is? Of course, Russia, right? And only once. So single foreign passport that can be used only once to go to only one country, and only once. The time for obtaining this passport was 2 days. So what an opportunity to visit a neighbor. So a lot of Chinese companies who were local operators, they started redirecting the tour floors from tourists who arrived to the Chinese northern regions, who were given an opportunity to obtain a single foreign passport to visit Russia. So it was quite a unique opportunity, especially for Chinese, because in China it's really hard to obtain this passport that allow you to go abroad. Or at least it was 10-15 years ago. Now it's easier, but still you need to get passport, you need to apply for visa, and to visit Russia, visa is not needed. For instance, to go to Vietnam, Chinese citizens need to apply for visa. So Vietnam also is a neighbor, Chinese neighbor, but still they don't have this visa-free agreement. Okay, so that's why the factor like unique opportunity to visit Russia obtained the highest score, because it was really unique opportunity to obtain passport, unique opportunity to travel to the country without applying for visa. And from 2014, it even became cheaper because of the drop of the Russian currency. The next thing that I would like to share with you is this diagram. Okay. Tour package structure for Chinese group of 10 tourists price. So the basic year was 2010, and we made the calculations for the period of 2010 till 2016. Also, we have updated data up to 2020, and this presentation has this data. So it can help you to understand the impact of and the economical impact to the local economy made by the tourism. So here we taking into account that we have a statistic for the number of tourists here visited Trans-Baikal region. So here's the number of Chinese tourists. We know the structure of the tour package precisely. In that period of time, I was working in a tour operator company till 2016. So that's why this data is really accurate. I mean, the structure is accurate because I was the person who was responsible to organizing these trips. So I know how much money was invested into the transfer, into the catering services like breakfasts, lunch, dinners, interpreters, transport, accommodation fees. And also I should mention that in 2012, we served more than 55% of all tourists crossed the border, Chinese border here, who passed the who crossed the border in Manzholi and Zabaikalsk. So we really can approximate and expand our assumptions to the entire tourist floor and evaluate the number of money that the region received from the tourism development. So how exactly we did it? As I mentioned, we have two main tour package from Hailar by plane, from Manzholi by train. Also taking into account that we have different companies who provide transfer, we can assume whether money goes abroad to China or stay here in Russia. So here, the calculation of inbound tourism market capacity. First, we have the number of tourists for the period of 2012 and 16. Then we have the price and the structure of the tour packages for each year, because as I mentioned earlier, we took 55% of the entire tourism floor, and we really know the structure and the prices for all the services that the product includes. Then we include or exclude the transfer depending on whether Chinese or Russian company makes a transfer service. So if it was a trip from Hailar it was operated by the Chinese airline company. So in this case, we just deduct this money. In case it was done by the Russian railway company from Manjoli, we include it. Then we also collected data about tourists' purchases during the trip. Also, we used some empirical data, so we really know, for instance, we made some research and based on surveys. So we made a survey, we conducted a survey on a regular basis, and we know the average amount of purchases that tourists were making during the trips. Also, there is a literature review. In accordance with the literature review, the specific number was found. We found out the specific number that the tourists are spending while being abroad. And the last one, we took into account the Russian currency exchange rate drop in the end of 2014, and we have recalculated the income of stakeholders in American dollars. So here you can see the total amount of the tourism market capacity estimated by us, by authors. Okay, so this amount of money was collected not only and earned not only by the tour operator company, so these are the money that the region obtained. So this money was spent to the hotels, to accommodation facilities, to transport to cover the transport fees by hiring the local drivers and local drivers with buses. Then restaurants with a traditional cuisine. We have a Buryat minority, we have a Russian cuisine, we have a Chinese northern cuisine restaurants. So this is the amount of money spread in the entire region from inbound tourism. Okay, and it was before 2020. In 2020, the tourism stopped, literally stopped, because in February the border was closed. So that's why in 2020 we have only 300 Chinese tourists visited our region and around 2,000 Russian tourists. And after that, border was closed. Okay. Now we still have 30 minutes, and I propose to play a quiz game on tourism facts that will, I hope, surprise you. So the quiz questions, so third part. If you have any questions regarding the first one or the second part, please don't hesitate to write your questions. Of course, we will have the questions and answers session at the end of our workshop. But if you have them right now, you may ask. If you don't have question, we can proceed to the third part. Should we? Okay, so in case you have some questions, write them in our meeting chat and we proceed. Our quiz questions are based on the topic of the artificial environment and its implication in the tourism industry. So the first question or kind of fact is, how cold is your winter in February or in January? For instance, I selected 3 cities, one from Sweden, which is considered as a northern country. So in February, there was a day, I think it was the 3rd of February, in Bydgoszcz it was -4, in Umeå +7, Umeå here, Bydgoszcz here, and in Chita -47.5. And what can you do during such a harsh winter time? You can just spill boiling water. Okay, I think I should have the video there. Okay, so let's skip it. So our quiz is about the artificial environment in the tourism industry. So artificial environment in tourism industry is something that built by the humans, and also there is just give me a second. I don't see some significant slides in this presentation. Okay. If I start sharing this presentation, come on. So what do you see on your screen? Do you see my notes or the slide? So I hope you see the slide. So artificial buildings and natural objects from all over the world. So there are some cities that attracts international and domestic tourists by showing them artificially built infrastructure. Las Vegas and Casino. So here are some examples. You can see the Eiffel Tower here, gates from Berlin, and there are some artificial buildings from other cities, like you can see China, Shenzhen, and this city is named Shijie Chuanghu, or the window to the world. So also you can see some infrastructure from Paris. So the first question, let's start our quiz. Can we fake the entire city? So the answer is on the screen, right? It seems I should rearrange this quiz because you see the answers already, but okay. So in China, there is a city called Sky City, or Tianducheng, and it is a housing, its infrastructure is very similar. To French city Paris, and it can accommodate more than 10,000 residents. So can you distinguish Paris from Chinese city Sky City? So CNN published a series or a set of photos. So let's play this quiz. My first question is, where is Paris and where is Chinese city? So left or right?
I think left one is China.
Okay, so the left one is China. We have the first answer. So left or right? So let's proceed. I will reply a bit later. Where is China and where is Paris? and where Paris is, but we don't see your screen. Ah, you don't see my screen. Okay. And now?
No,
Do you see
some
my...
of us, I don't know.
Okay, so let me stop sharing like that. And let me just... So now you should see the pictures, right? You should see a wedding couple, am I correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's continue from this slide. So left or right? Just a second. Use two monitors, and now I am just adjusting the windows. Yes, now it's done. So now I see your messages. I can see. Yeah, okay. So left or right, where is Paris? No answers. Okay. Let's proceed to the next picture. Where Paris is, what do you think? Let's talk about left. Okay. Here. Let's talk about the parks. Left. Okay, so you consider that left picture represents Paris. Left. Okay. Here. By the way, have you been to Paris? So, or you just remember some pictures from that city? Then this one. Okay, so yes, maybe there is some problem on your device. Yeah. I think later I can share this presentation with you. So if you skip something, you will be able to read the information and see these pictures and related data later in your meantime. Okay, so here it's obvious that this pipe shouldn't be in a real Paris, right? So this one, it represents France. This one, I think this will be a bit easier because here you can see 4 Chinese hieroglyphs. It's written like Tiantou Park. So we can skip it because here on the left side you can see hieroglyphs and you can easily distinguish Paris from Chinese city. This one. So let's compare the buildings, the streets, the monuments in the cities. So guess where Paris is, left or right? It seems there is a short delay because when I ask, it takes a couple of seconds before you start typing your answer. So maybe there is a delay. So let me wait for your answers. Left, okay. And actually, Paris is on the right. Okay, try one more time. Eiffel Tower, yeah, right. Right is on the right. Okay, we have one more student in the lobby. Let me admit the request. Marcel, welcome back. So now we play a quiz, and we try to distinguish Chinese city Tiantou from Paris. So we have a very similar infrastructure, very similar buildings, interior, because Tiantou is a copy of Paris. So I read the messages from you. Right. Yes, Paris is on the right side. You are right. Here, where is Tiantou and where is Paris? So it seems that the souvenirs in the shape of Eiffel Tower should be sold in Paris, right? And some other souvenirs representing what? Okay, right is Paris, you are right. So you can guess it by the souvenirs the merchants are selling, right? So of course it's quite obvious that if you are in Paris, you should sell the symbol of the city, and the symbol of the city is Eiffel Tower. Uvimana and Niegena, thanks for your replies. Next one. So try to find out where Paris is. And I think we have several more pictures. No, I still didn't receive your answer. Yeah. Paris is on the right side. You are right. Here, let me check how many pictures we have. A lot. So let me just select the last three and we proceed to the next one, to the next question. Okay, so Paris, where are you? On the left side of the picture or on the right side of the picture? Right, and you're right. So the Paris is on the right side. Okay, so let me just show you these pictures that are left. And in all pictures, Paris is on the right side. So this picture represents Paris and was taken in Paris. The same here, Paris, Tiantou. As you see, it's very similar. Paris, Tiantou. Here it's easier, you can see some hieroglyphs on the walls for the entrance to the shop. But the general view of the building is very, very similar. Okay, next one. And even the interior is very similar. So this is a hotel. As you see, it is a lobby. And this one is a museum where the real Mona Lisa is captured. Was captured. Okay, and the last picture is this one. Yeah. So we just played a quiz with a one question about ability to distinguish real Paris from its copy from China. And the next question, can we fake the entire country? Yes, we can. Otherwise, I wouldn't ask it, right? So we faked the city like Paris. Now let's see how we can copy the entire country. As you remember, I mentioned one of the biggest cities on the earth, Ulaanbaatar, which is located in the northern part of Inner Mongolia of China. And here we have Manzhouli, which is located on the border, and Manzhouli has a nesting doll park. And let me show you some pictures from that city, from that park. So it is taken from, these pictures are taken from Manzhouli and represents the Russian culture, Russian tangible cultural heritage, because you also can you can taste the delicious dishes made by the Russian chiefs. So the city is on the border, so they attract Russian chiefs to make dishes. Also, they bake the cakes, Russian traditional cakes. They invite dancers for Russian folks dances and so on. Some pictures that I would like to share with you. Manzhouli was a village many years ago, actually 30 years ago, and one of the reasons why it is blooming right now was the tourism. But if you take into account the GDP of the region, the structure of its economy, tourism occupied only 10%. So still non-tourism industries are quite important, but 10% helped to take a step from this. So this is a picture of Manzhouli taken in end of 80s. So it was a rural territory and it was a village. Now, just let me, I think the order, the sequence of the pictures is not correct. So let me just do like that. Yeah, so 30 years ago, Manzhouli was a village with only one main road and wooden buildings. Now it is a blooming city with the skyscrapers, with the hotels, 5-star hotels, with hotel chains like Shangri-La, one of the most luxury hotel chain in Asia. So here it is on this lake bank. Village to the modern city. This kind of jump was made in 30 years. China has two kind of similar cities like Manzhouli on the northern part and Shenzhen, which is in front of Hong Kong. 30 years ago, it was a fishing village, and now it is one of the mega clusters for IT industry in China. It's kind of Palo Alto, kind of Silicon Valley in China. So here you can see the northern gates of China, where they built a city from the scratch. It was a village, now it is a modern city. And let's move back to the question, can we copy the entire country and its culture? So now it is not necessary to cross the border to get introduced to Russian traditions, to Russian customs, to try to taste Russian cuisine, dishes, and so on, to enjoy the traditional folks and traditional dance. You just need to go to Manjoli to the nesting doll park. So as you remember, I mentioned the biggest nesting doll in the world. Here it is. It is a restaurant and a hotel, five-floor hotel in the shape of the nesting doll. Russian Kremlin, Moscow Kremlin copied here in Manjoli. And here you can see the nesting doll park. So inside this park, you can try all traditional Russian cuisine, work and talk to indigenous people. I mean, Russians are considered indigenous people in China. So they, during the hot season, the summer season, this nesting doll park hires the Russians from Transbaikal region. Okay, so thank you for your attention. We still have 5 minutes, and now I propose to proceed to questions and answers section. Before we proceed to this section, think about your questions. I will make a highlights or summary of today's class. So today we discussed the sustainable tourism and sustainable marketing. We defined it and determined the common points between sustainable tourism and sustainable marketing. We traced the roots of sustainable development from the Brundtland report, from the document titled Our Common Future, published in 1987, where the first definition of sustainable development were given. Then we shifted to implementation of the sustainability and sustainable development framework to tourism and discussed the 4 capitals of sustainable tourism, like social, ecological, environmental, and cultural. We also observed the statistics from the World Tourism dashboards from the official website. We also introduced to the impacts of COVID-19 on the tourism industry. What else? We discussed the mega trends like travel behavior, new technologies, then demographic changes, and one mega trend is sustainability, that companies, hotels, tour operators, they would like to follow the ESG trend. And then we reviewed the evolution of marketing, started from product orientation, proceed to the sustainable marketing. And then we found out the common features of sustainable tourism and sustainable marketing. And then the second part was about a case study of the Chinese-Russian cross-border tourism development. Here I just provided the descriptive information for it, but I think one of the most important thing was this one, that we got the tools how we can measure the tourism impact made to the region from the economical impact made to the region by developing the tourism industry. So these calculations are precise and accurate. And the last one, we played a quiz about artificial environment. So we discussed we played the game and tried to distinguish the authentic objects and infrastructure from Paris and the copy of Paris from China, like Tiantou city, which is close to Shanghai. And then we also discussed, can we fake the entire country? And the answer was positive. And I introduced the nesting doe park from the biggest city on the earth, which is Manzhouli, from northern part of China, from Inner Mongolia. Now, finally, we can proceed to this section. So if you have any questions, please, I'm delighted to answer your questions. In case you don't have any questions right now, let's keep in touch in our MS Teams. So in case you have any questions, please don't hesitate to send them as a private message in MS Teams. I think you know how to find me in the messenger, right? You can just use my first name and last name. So I have the official website, official email given by our university, ivan.monic at, is it byd dot, let me check the correct email address. So the same email address you can use to find me out in MS Teams. Just give me a second to share the correct email address with you. Just a second. byd.pl Poland. Okay. So let's keep in touch in MS Teams. Let's keep in touch by sending emails. Thank you for attending today's class. Just one more time. So thank you for attending today's class and stay safe. See you next time. Let's keep in touch and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, someone has a
Are
question.
we going to have another class?
Yes, we are going to have another class, but not today. Do you have a timetable?
Yeah, but the timetable, well, I haven't checked it. Yesterday I checked and it was just one. Maybe it has been updated. I have no idea. I'll check again.
Let me share it right now with you. Semester, yes, found out. Do you see it on your screen right now?
Yes, I do.
So the next class is scheduled for next Friday, January 21st.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so thank you. Let's keep in touch. One more time. Bye-bye.
Bye.